crunch, bring it back, single leg swing. Let me teach you how to wrestle. Okay. Let me teach you how to wrestle. Hit the
Mindset Monday is brought to you by our official sponsors, Eat Clean, bro. Make sure you order today, get them delivered right to your house, check them out, and make sure you put in your discount code MINDSET.
And welcome back to Wrestling Mindset. Today we have Dan here, and we're excited to talk about pin cancer, and we have to give a shout out to our sponsors, Eat Clean, bro. Eat Clean, bro, the healthy way to do things. And, you know, we're talking all Jersey people here. I mean, whether it's pin cancer, Wrestling Mindset, Eat Clean, bro, all Jersey born and bred. So how's it going, brother? Thanks for joining us.
It's going well. Thanks for having me. Yeah, go Jersey for sure. We do a good job out here on the wrestling scene. I'm a customer of Eat Clean Bro as well. They're great meals and they're super convenient, especially for wrestlers trying to find like something quick and nutritious. So,
yeah,
they're a sponsor.
Oh yeah, and I should have said to everyone, plug in Mindset to get a discount code if you don't have one already.
Yeah.
Some of you guys already have the hookup, but you get a little bit off. So that's good stuff. I'll have my Eat Clean Bro after this. Yeah, let's talk about pin cancer. Obviously, great organization. You've been doing this for a while. We've seen you many times with things. Talk about how it all got started for the people that aren't aware.
Sure. Yeah. No, it got started. I was affected firsthand. I got the news that my mom was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer right around the time I graduated college, and really didn't see anything in the wrestling community that kind of united the sport in a fight like this. So she was a big believer in giving back, and she was really the reason why we started it. And in the beginning, she was at every single one of our events, and I have pictures of her helping us out. And unfortunately she passed away almost 10 years now it's been. And when I spoke at her funeral, this was something that was very positive. And we spoke before she passed, and it was, something that we just said, like, something positive will come out of it. And, so that's where pin cancer kind of started. And fast forward, I remember hooking up with you guys years ago at a pin cancer event we had at Kittatinny, and we had a great showing there, and a lot of big time names: Quentin Wright, NCAA champ for Penn State. We had Matt Valente and Derek Valente and yourself, and it was a great event. We need to do more camps like that for sure. But just for everyone that's not aware of pin cancer, we essentially give wrestlers an avenue to inspire awareness and raise funds through the sport of wrestling for people that are affected firsthand by cancer. We have a handful of beneficiaries. A lot of our money used to go to St. Jude, and now we're kind of shifting gears and trying to help wrestling families that are affected firsthand. So we're about to gear up for this year's Wrestle for a Cure campaign. It's online. It takes like 2 minutes to sign up. So you can go to pincancer.org and check it out. I think we have already raised $10,000 so far, and the season really hasn't started. So that's good.
Nice.
But we have a couple Jersey teams already signed up for our pin cancer nights where they get to wear pin cancer singlets. I think one of the teams has already raised over like $2,500, and a portion of those proceeds will go to a family member locally in the wrestling community up here that's currently battling cancer. So we're constantly kind of evolving, fast forward from where we started 10 plus years ago to today. We're just starting to reach a lot more people, and it's thanks to organizations like Wrestling Mindset and Gene and Jeff, and for allowing us to just jump on your platform and spread the word.
We need it, and we got to give. I hope this pod together will be a nice, good hard kick in the pants for the whole wrestling world, for us, for everyone. Where it's just, hey, we could give more, and we talk about wrestling. I mean, I feel like we're always saying using wrestling as a vehicle to build better people and to build virtue and mental skills for life. And obviously, we talk a lot about our faith and how faith, obviously, the most important thing, and then at a supernatural level, and then at a natural level, which I get it, the two can't be like necessarily completely divided, but for the sake of talking about it, then our health, and as far as like, how can we, if we're really wrestlers, we need to be fighting these good fights, and it's real easy for things to be about success, and we got to win, and we got to do it, and you realize, no, there's actually people who are really fighting, like real wrestlers who may not have wrestled a day in their life, but they need your help, and they need my help. So, it's a good sober, good hard slap in the face where we say, hey, like, pick it up. Yeah. There's people who are struggling worse than you, and this is the wrestling that wrestlers need to be involved in, building a better world and starting with people's help from the ground up.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on, Gene. And I think that's probably something I have to do a better job of kind of storytelling, but we do have a lot of parents that reach out to us, and it's really, I wouldn't say 100% of the parents, but the majority of the kids that get involved, they're probably pushed a little bit by the parent to say, that kind of already learned that life lesson. They probably have more experience in it. Unfortunately, maybe they have been affected firsthand, losing a parent. We go to tournaments and we listen to people who talk about losing their parent. It's very tough. And then we go to some tournaments and people are talking about losing their children, which is the worst, right? And it kind of puts things in perspective for you. And I think we give the wrestling community a decent outlet to do more and kind of come together to, for that bigger purpose. And it doesn't matter if you're raising $100 or if you're raising $100,000. It all makes a huge impact. And, it's just the feedback we get from the wrestling community just thanking us for giving them the platform to do something. Sometimes it's through the schools will get involved. And I think a lot of it just touches on exactly what you just said, is like, wrestlers are tough. The reason why I wanted to get on here with you and talk about mindset as well, because when we talk to, cancer survivors or people that are currently battling, mindset is a huge player in their perspective on what's going on with their life. And I think staying positive is it just helps people so much in this particular area.
Oh yeah, and I saw firsthand with my cousin Michelle, who just had breast cancer, and now she's like finally out of the woods. You get these things, you never know you're out of the woods. So that's the thing that's tough. But I know, like, of course, like, she's human, she's had tough days, but just from the very beginning, she had the wrestling mindset and not that she wrestled or anything or was an athlete, although she could have been, but it was just positivity, the trustful surrender to divine providence. And just, I'm going to have a good attitude about this no matter what. And there's things I can control and there's things I can't. And again, like, I know there's tough days and there's still tough days for her, but the fact, like, it would be way, way, way worse if she didn't have the attitude that she did. And so it's like, we need to keep that big perspective. And also knowing that it's at a certain point in time, all of us are going to get some bad news from different things. Like, what is it? Like 1/6 of the world gets cancer. And if it's not cancer, it's something else.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
So it's like, we have this mentality, oh, we're going to, you feel like you're going to live, you have the sense of well, I'm going to live forever. Well, it's not going to affect me. And that's for the people who've been blessed to have kind of smooth sailing, but we all hit turmoil at a certain point in time. And, pin cancer, I think, is also just a wake up call to life, to our mortality. Like, hey, this stuff isn't given. It's not guaranteed, and focus on the things that are important.
Yeah, 100%. I think, again, like I've been listening to you guys for years now. So I know you talk about, being grateful for things, like not complaining about the grind or the fact that you're tired in wrestling practice, but really having that gratitude to say, my body has the capability to go out there and do these things, right? And I think that's something that, you're right, if you haven't experienced it firsthand, some people might take it for granted, and only because they haven't experienced it, right? Like, I've experienced it. I lost my mom at 27 years old. To me, that's very young, like, she never can meet my kids. And, there's a lot of things that you miss out on, that you look at some other people and they do have their parents around going on vacation. Like, like, that was something that I missed. But then it's, I think it's 10 times worse when you are talking to parents and then they're dealing with a sick child, right? So that's why, when I fortunately got to bring my mom down to St. Jude, we presented them with a $25,000 check, probably like 11 years ago at this point. And she was always a big supporter of St. Jude. And that's kind of why I asked her, I'm like, listen, you're the reason why we're doing this. Like, where do you want the funds to go? In the beginning, a lot of it went to St. Jude. And I got to bring her down, and we had like a private tour of the hospital, and she ended up passing away almost 2 months later. So that was like a good last memory that I have with my mom. And, I think pink cancer kind of took a hit when COVID came along. We didn't have a wrestling season to fundraise on top of, and, so many other variables going on in the world. And but, now I'm just super motivated now than ever, brought on, great partnerships. We're super blessed to have companies like yours reach out and help us. We were just down at Super 32. Like, they do a great job with us. They donate, they let us, have a presence down there, which is, it helps a lot. So anytime a wrestling business reaches out to us, we try to find some way to collaborate with them, because, we share the same eyeballs, and, especially when they stand for certain things. I've been a big fan of wrestling mindset. I think, what we do with Pink Cancer and what you guys just preach is like the same thing, and really appreciate it. I'm super proud of you guys for seeing how much you've grown over the years.
No, thank you, and obviously we're proud of you. I mean, doing what you're doing, it's huge. I mean, it's like, I'm going to speak at Beat the Streets tomorrow again in Manhattan. We've done that several times, but it's the stuff that gives you a wake up call. Even myself, you just you go through the grind, and you're not thinking. You are thinking about the big picture, but no, there's people who are struggling, and
Yeah.
and especially a sport like wrestling where it's certainly not just an upper class sport by any stretch, but like a lot of the people who are involved in wrestling have some means, because you got to go to clubs, you got to go to tournaments. Like, that's not cheap. That's why there's organizations like Beat the Streets that try to help these kids, give them a hand up. Right. So it's, you don't think about it all the time. And it's like, just how blessed we are. So we do need to have these reminders in front of us, I think, on a regular basis. And like you said, like the unthinkable with like children, again, everything's in God's hands. We have to have that, the abandonment to divine providence. But man, you're right. Like, you think about, it's like, obviously parents would be terrible as it is. And then thinking about children, it's like, no, this is a reality for a great many people. And you're blessed that you're not seeing that right now. So start thinking about it, and basically keep that in the forefront of your mind. And we know there's a lot of great wrestling businesses or business owners or people who are looking to build up their practice, whether it be financial advisors, these kind of things. They should absolutely be taking a look at what you're doing here, because it's huge.
Yeah, I think it is. And, our motto is the world's toughest sport is taking on the world's toughest opponent. And I think that's the best thing we've ever coined. That was right from the start. And it truly, as wrestlers, we believe that we have the best sport in the world. It's the oldest sport, and we're extremely biased, but I think if you are a part of the sport, you do buy into that type of mindset and mentality. And it does teach you the grind where, I think I posted this on LinkedIn yesterday. It's like, stop letting your kids quit wrestling because it's hard. Life is hard. And to be honest, I think that what happens behind the scenes and your journey through wrestling, whether you have success or not, I think it does play dividends down the road, and you will be successful, right? It's the same thing that we're trying to do here with Pink Cancer, is say, listen, we know you're the type of person that's going to help people or strive to be better or do something bigger because you are a wrestler. And we just simply give you an avenue to get signed up and, do something one step bigger and, try to help some families that are potentially affected firsthand. But, I think just circling back to just everything is the mindset of a wrestler and the people within the sport, I think, is very close knit. And it's the toughest sport. It's the reason why you don't see it in gym class, right? And it's just, I think the things it teaches you, that's there. I don't think there's a better match for cancer and for a sport to kind of combine efforts and try to do something big. So like, I have really ambitious goals in the next 5 years. I would love to try to raise at least $10 million. It's not going to happen without just the support of the wrestling community. And I think we've come to a point where we've made it super simple for people to get involved. Like I said, there's if you go to our site, pinkcancer.org, and click the Get Involved button, you could plan a Pink Cancer night, you could fundraise online, you can attend one of our national tournaments that we will be bringing back in 2025. You could do a camp or a clinic with us. So like, I just got off a call yesterday with a couple college programs, and it's tough to raise funds through this through a college program because they're hitting up the same fans to fund their own program. So we don't want to hit them up twice. But what we've kind of brainstormed together is like off season. So we don't make a lot of money in the off season. We need to change that. So we started doing our tournaments. And if you have an existing tournament or a camp or a clinic that you do, we can fundraise on top of those events without the person running the event losing any money whatsoever. So like, it's very unique. We've cracked a code on like simplifying and streamlining ways wrestlers and teams can get involved. So like, again, it's something that we just kind of built out in the past couple of months, and we'll be kind of launching that here as we head into the season and the off season. But
yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, what are some things people could be doing? That's, I guess, we need to give people extremely actionable steps, and then basically continuing to just kind of keep beating them over the head with it, because we just need we need these constant reminders. Like ideally we would say it once and then they run with it, but no, they need to hear it again and again. Like this is what you could be doing. It's not like, oh, I wish there was something I could be doing. Yeah, there is something you could be doing, and we're telling you right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's as simple, like simply put, but it makes the most sense. And sometimes even myself and my team, we just overcomplicate things and they shouldn't be that complicated. So a lot of times they're like, oh, I got this college team. They want to learn how to get involved. Here's the link, sign up. If you want to create a team page, create a team page. If you just want to fundraise individually, fundraise individually. Like there's no barriers to entry here, and you can, and it's that simple. And then share your page. Like social media is not going anywhere. It's big, so just to give you an example, if we have a 10-year-old wrestler, they sign up, they get a team page, or they get their fundraising page, they get to personalize it, they can interact with donors, they can share their story on why they're getting involved, they could set a goal, they share it on Facebook a lot of times, and relatives, friends, family see it, they donate, whether it's $10, $100, it adds up pretty quick. And what's cool, what we do is we incentivize each wrestler involved to raise as much money as possible. And the way we do that is if you raise certain milestones, you earn gear. So if you raise like $200, you get a t-shirt. If you raise $400, you get a sweatshirt, and keeps going and going and going. You can earn, probably $150, $200 worth of gear. And that's a win-win for us because, the more kids that are wearing our gear and walking around tournaments, that's, free marketing in our eyes. So, and it also incentivizes kids to, instead of raising $200, a lot of these kids are raising well over $1,000. So, I think we've done a good job of just building that foundation. And now, going back to your point, it's a matter of people need to find us and sign up. It's really that simple. And this is, these podcasts that we've been doing and partnering with brands that have big following on social or email. Like that's just what we're trying to do right now is get the word out. That's it. Simple.
Oh yeah, we're gonna be doing within our company a matching donation. So these are things like get creative. Like if you were, don't just leave it at lip service or, oh hey, this would feel good. Because a lot of times what we do, we get like a negative thought, like the way you want to talk about the psychology behind it. We get a negative thought, oh, and we feel like a little bit disturbed and okay, so we feel uncomfortable, and we don't like feeling uncomfortable because now it's all about pleasure, right? Feeling good. So either we'll feel bad, we'll say, hey, I wish there was something I could do. And then we almost get content with, oh, I'm a good person because I wish there was something I could do. Mm-hmm. Or we give ourselves an excuse. We put an arbitrary roadblock and we say, well, there's nothing I could really do, or I'm not really going to make a difference because of, either because I don't know what to do, which you do know what to do now. And, or we say to ourselves, well, if I give, it would be too little. Like that's whatever I give is not going to make that much of a difference. And it's like, that's not true. It's like, how many apples are in a seed. You don't know how many seeds. No, you know how many seeds are in an apple, but you don't know how many apples are in a seed. So just your involvement in pin cancer, you tell someone, you might not be the one person. It's like, you talk. You talk. Back in the high school, college days, you talk to a girl. You might not date her, but you might date her friend. Or she might date your friend. It's like sometimes you have to think more horizontally and laterally. You don't know what's going to spring from different interactions. So just anyone supporting pin cancer, putting it up, or a couple bucks, you tell someone this. It spreads. Like so. There's a mindset behind. There's a mindset behind. We get like this dopamine hit sometimes. Like yeah, I wish there was something I could do. Yeah, I'm a good person because I care, and then not do anything. So no, you didn't do anything.
You're right. I think execution is definitely the hard part, right? In anything that we do, we talk about it in business, especially in wrestling. Everyone's got good ideas. Oh, I'm going to go work out. I mean, I do it. I work from home. I've been working from home probably for like 6+ years now. I have no excuse to go down in my basement and work out every single day, but I'm not down there every day, and I need to be. So it's like the consistency and the execution part of it is definitely the hardest part, and it all goes down to your brain. You have to trick your brain into doing something, right? So I think you're spot on with how people can get involved. Oh, I've heard about this. Oh, we're going to probably do something, this year. We're going to plan a pin cancer event, and then we never hear from people, right?
Right.
There's both sides to it. I think we have to constantly be in everyone's. We have to be top of mind once the season starts rolling around. We have to make it it has to be somewhat beneficial for kids to get involved. We need, I think, to do a better job of teaching kids the importance of giving back. That's probably one thing that I haven't done very well of. But in the sense of just simplicity and getting people involved, I think we've crushed it. And there's, like I said, it's simple. It takes 2 minutes. And you can share. You never know, sharing a fundraiser online, you might raise $1,000 in the first.
The time is now to take your mindset to the next level with Wrestling Mindset. Make sure you go to our website, wrestlingmindset.com, and sign up for your free trial session today. Don't wait any longer. You want the mental edge right now. When you sign up for the free trial session, you're also going to get a copy of our free ebook, Building the Predator Mindset. This book has helped thousands of people build confidence, relax under pressure, get motivated, and build mental toughness in wrestling, school, and life. Make sure you sign up for your free trial session today.
25 minutes. We have a wrestler from New Jersey. He lost his mom, I think, when he was 7 years old. And he's wrestling down at Super 32 the other weekend. I met up with him, and he's already raised over, I think, $2,200. And it's because he has a story, and people know that he was impacted personally, and he tells his story. He gets on a video and he's talking about why he's getting involved with our organization, because it has affected him firsthand. And I think we just need more of that. We need people to not be afraid to talk about it. I go to tournaments, and there's a lot of people walking around. It could be a parent, could be a sibling, could be grandma or grandpa, an aunt, uncle, whoever, and they come up to our booth and, they will talk to me and be like, I'm battling cancer right now. You don't know what people are going through. So, yeah, I mean, it's going back to the execution piece of it. Like you mentioned, is just, it's simple to say something, but it's more important to follow through and.
Right. No, and K minus A equals 0. Knowledge minus action equals nothing. If you know what to do, but don't do what you know, what good is knowing it, right? So you got to do it. And it's the start that stops most people. So it's like, don't talk yourself out of it right away. Talk yourself into it, and ask yourself, how can I, like, people should be asking themselves, how can I help? How can I get involved? Whether it's wearing some kind of article of the clothing at the tournaments, or, the shoe company should be all over. So there should be a pin cancer shoe, socks,
Did a couple,
knee pad, all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so I just got this morning off a call with one of the wrestling apparel brands and worked with them in the past, and we're going to bring them back on and start doing some other stuff. I just launched a really big online shop for pin cancer. So if you go to pincancer.org, you'll see a shop gear button. Not just our gear, like this T-shirt that I have, which is like our logo, our iconic logo T-shirt. But we started introducing just like wrestling T-shirts for moms, dads, wrestlers that don't necessarily have anything to do with cancer on the front of it or our organization. But it's just another way for us to raise funds. So we're looking to really push that as like the holiday season comes, and people shopping for Christmas presents, whatever it may be. We have something on there, or we will have something on there for every single wrestling fan. And what we do is we put our logo on the back, and then we advertise 100% of the funds from these shirts go towards pin cancer. So I've been designing those T-shirts. We recently brought on Skylar Grote. She's been doing a great job with onboarding like new brand ambassadors for us and taking on a lot more of the marketing responsibilities. She started designing like a whole line, as we get into the season, and I think they'll make for some good presents around the holiday time. And so, I mean, it's just a matter of like, we have an idea. If it makes sense and it can get somebody involved somewhere, we're going to do it, right? So that was where that kind of online store came to play. But we did do wrestling shoes in the past. If the kids raised over $1,000, I co-founded Terra Grappler, which is now Matterborn, back in the day, and we were able to do that pretty easily with that company. Recently sold it. So if there is a brand out there, and I'm still working with the new Terra Grappler team, but if somebody wants to do a pin cancer shoe, 100%, I think we should be doing it. I think the Rudises and, really, I think that the focus is on Rudis. Rudis is the behemoth in this company. And when it comes to wrestling, they're doing a good job. I wish they would want to do more with us, to be honest.
Right.
And it's the message of what you said is how, ask yourself the question, like, how can I give back? When in reality, and this is not a dig at anybody, but most people, their first instinct is what's in it for me, right? So maybe we need to, again, I always like to point the finger back at myself and say, I need to do a better job of marketing this nonprofit, maybe telling a better story, which I plan to do. But at the same time, how do we encourage people to ask that question, right? I think it just comes, what's our messaging? We got into a spot where we were trying to go after corporate and brand partnerships, and we got so focused on what's in it for the brand that's going to donate to us? Like, what can we give back to them? And we weren't getting like the brands that we wanted. And we kind of shift focus to say like, no, here are the ways that you can partner with us. Each one of these is a win-win. If you don't have any money or if you don't want to sponsor us, you could at least do this, like send an email. Like if you have a list of wrestling specific emails, and you could send an email on our behalf to just let people know that we exist and that the campaign's coming up. That's something a lot of brands can do, right? That's something like a Rudis could do, an NWCA could do, whoever, right? Wrestlers in business. But we're having conversations with all these brands now, so hopefully they are going to start doing it. But yeah, it's a matter of like, how can we give back and get away from the what's in it for me type of mentality.
Yeah, and you feel like if you're in, I mean, obviously there's a lot of great, because people could say it's like, well, there's a lot of different charities out there. I can't give to everyone. Again, we make excuses, so we have to be. When I think about it from the psychology and the mindset point of view, we have to be a step ahead of their excuses. And it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, there are a lot of charities out there, and you can't give to all of them. That's true. But if you're in the sport, I mean, I think about like with us, if you're in the sport of wrestling, you should be thinking, okay, who are the good organizations, nonprofits, things like this that are going on in wrestling, and how could I help them? Because we're involved in wrestling. So when I think about it, it's like Pin Cancer, Beat the Streets. It's like my brother Jeff and I, we talk business all the time. And of course we're thinking about how do we grow the business, but it's like there's businesses there's organizations we should be a part of because we're in the sport of wrestling. So we should be helping. So, we have to look at it like that.
I love that mentality. I don't think a lot of people have that mentality. I think you can't do anything on your own. And when you partner with certain people and it's a win-win, it just makes sense. So I'm glad you said that. You just touched on something else that I wanted to touch on. And now
You'll remember it as I go, because I have a few points there too. It's like, as far as, even if it's from a selfish point of view, it's okay. If there's a big nonprofit in wrestling and you're a big company, it's like, what do you think? That's not going to give you good exposure? You don't think that's a good look for you, for other people? It's like, hey, I'm helping charitable organizations. Like, come on, or
it's marketing. That's what they call it.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's one of those things that if you're involved in the sport, especially for a wrestling company or a wrestling team, it's like this is your sport. So you should be thinking, what are the good organizations within wrestling? And when you think about it, there's not that many in the scheme of things. So it's going to boomerang back and help you, even if you're looking at it from a selfish perspective. It's like, hey, you say, okay, these are the big brands in wrestling. And now we're all attached. We're all attached to each other. That's a good thing. That etches you more in the community.
Yeah. So I remember what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
The word like limiting belief popped into my mind when you were talking about people kind of put themselves in a mindset. They talk themselves out of something because they feel the impact isn't big enough, or, oh, I donate to this charity already, I can't donate to all of them. That's something that's real. And I'll just share this with everybody. I had the same exact thought for the past 12 years working within my own nonprofit with Pin Cancer. Was in the back of my mind, I always said, this will never be full time for me. And it's not right now, but I would love for it to be. I think that was a huge limiting belief that kind of dampened our growth over the years. And I always said the wrestling community is too small for this to like get big, like to get to like the 5 million a year mark where I really wanted it to be. And I think that definitely hurt me over the past 12 years and really stopped our growth. And now I've completely shifted that and said, no, the wrestling community is plenty big. It's a matter of me, us getting the eyeballs on the organization. So those limiting beliefs are completely out the window. And to be honest, I'll be completely transparent. I would love for this to be full time, but we need to make a hell of a lot more in a year for me to justify paying myself, right? So a lot of people, nonprofits run the exact same way as a for-profit business. We just don't pay tax. That money goes to our beneficiaries, essentially, right? So, but like our platform is not free. Our fundraising platform is not free. Marketing is not free. Travel is not free. There are a lot of expenses that go with a nonprofit. And I think if you build a team, my goal is to have a small team that could potentially do this full time. And instead of us raising, $200,000 a year, maybe we could raise $2 million a year and make a bigger impact, right? So that's where my mind is right now. But I do work full time, for another company in marketing, and I do have some other things that I do. But that's my goal. My goal in the next 5 years is to try to get there.
Yeah, and like you said, we have those limiting beliefs. We thought a similar thing with wrestling, like, wait, we should break out to other sports, and we did, and it's good because you're like, well, there's the whole off season, but people are wrestling year round. Wrestling is there's okay, yeah, it might not be football or basketball, but there's a lot going on in wrestling. Wrestling is big. There's still a huge market for that, so there's no reason that we can't do it. And so it's a lot of times the door is locked. The door is locked in our own mind. Like the story of
Yeah.
the story of Houdini, the great escape artist. That was his big thing. He was a locksmith. He was able to pick locks, and they locked him in a room. And they said, "Okay, here's the challenge. You can't get out of this room. You could walk in." He said, "Okay, I get to walk in my street clothes," because they knew he was going to have all of his lock equipment, and that they were fine with that. They said, "Okay, you go in the room. You try to open up the door," and he'll get out of any room they put him in. And it was like 2 hours go by. He couldn't do it. He couldn't figure it out. Finally, he leans on the door, and the door
It
just
opens.
falls down. And so what does it show? What does it show? That the door was just locked in his mind. And how frequently is the door just locked in our own mind? It's not actually locked. It's just we're trapped in the jail of our minds, which is
It's
terrible.
so true. It's so true. I recently worked with someone a couple years ago. I'll name drop him, Nick Santanastasso, another Jersey guy. So Nick, he's like a motivational speaker, and he was born with no legs and one arm, and he was like, I'm going to wrestle. And he was a wrestler in high school. And fast forward to today, he's got, a huge following. And I think he went on tour with like Tony Robbins. So learned from like a guru in that sense. And I worked with him one-on-one, and, it completely shifted my mindset. We spoke about a lot of things. We touched on relationships and health and wealth. And, it was crazy. I worked with him for 3 months, and it literally was life-changing. Like the power of your mind, I think people underestimate it, and you could have a really great life if you stay positive. And that's something I think that you and I both do. It's tough to stay positive all the time in the sport of wrestling, right? Especially if you're going through a couple like bad losses or something's happening outside, like a family member getting cancer. Like it's very hard to stay positive, but I'll share this, like just my personal experiences. Watching my mom, battle, she was very positive. Like, if you didn't know what was going on, if it wasn't like public knowledge to people, I don't think people would really see that she was sick. She wouldn't let anyone see that. And I think part of that was her own mindsets of wanting to stay positive for herself and her family. And I think it allowed her to live those 5 years just a lot better, to be honest. It wasn't all doom and gloom during that time period. There were some ups too, and I think focusing on that is just a big one. But I think going back to it, like the power of the mind is just very, very underestimated by a lot of people. To be honest, I wish you guys were around when I was in high school. I feel like I could have easily been a state champion, and I had, somebody in my path, in my district and my region who was a two-time state champ in front of me. He went on to wrestle for Penn State, was a national finalist. He was a runner, NCAA runner-up. And in my mind, I lost to him a handful of times throughout high school. And I just felt like every time I wrestled him, I was already lost the match because I knew I probably would have lost by a point or two. I think it's something that people don't tap into. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job of prioritizing it, though. And I think a lot more people are catching on because it's a huge advantage over people that know how to trick their minds into being like going out there and be like, no, I am the man, I am the girl, I am a state champ. And that plays a big part of it. So same thing with cancer, like being positive is a huge player in all of it.
Oh yeah, and being a positive thinker, a lot of people get that twisted or mixed up in their head. That doesn't necessarily mean you're smiling, laughing, or always happy, or don't have bad days. That's not what it is. Being a positive thinker, more than a feeling or an emotion, is an act of the will. It's a choice. It's a decision. You're having a tough day. Times are hard, and you still say, okay, what's the opportunity here? How do I make the best of this? What am I thankful for? It's a very hard thing. Like that's a grind to be a positive thinker, but the key is you're not a lazy thinker. Okay. It's easy to wallow in self-pity, criticize, blame, and complain. Like there are a lot of bad things that are going on. Like life isn't fair. And why me? It's like, yeah, but if you stick with why me, you're like, yeah, what about all these other people? It's just going to keep you down, as opposed to, well, here I am in the moment. What's the best thing I could do? How do I make this into a positive? Or at very least, how do I make this not as bad? Right? If you can't think of how do I make things better? Just say to yourself, well, how do I make things less bad? And if you just turn it around and you generate solutions, well, you're making it better. Less bad is better. Better is less bad, right? That kind of thing. So it's an act of the will. It's a choice. It's not you're always happy. It doesn't mean you're not always having bad days. So,
And I will tell you something that fuels that part of your soul and your mind is giving back. It really is. Like I've been fortunate to be part of big organizations like St. Jude, and I've been down there a handful of times, and just building my nonprofit has really helped me advance my own career, full time. And I think, but the best part about it is really the giving back piece of it. When we go and present a $25,000 check to St. Jude, or $50,000 check, or even if it's $1,000 check to a family that's struggling because they are affected by cancer and they can't, it's tapping into their financials in terms of paying their rent or mortgage or fixing a car, all those things, those little things can make a huge difference. And to be honest, like I hate to say this, but when we donate, $150,000 to St. Jude, there's not a lot of thank you, right? That's a really big organization. And that one doesn't, to be honest, feel as good. It does because of the work that they do with that hospital. Phenomenal. But the ones that, people are very grateful for are the $2,000 checks that we write people that say, your team in the community got together, they fundraised online, they raised $2,000, and here's $2,000 to help you with whatever you need. I had a neighbor of mine. I didn't know this at the time. I was working at Unilever, and we moved to this house that we're in now, and he was a Unilever employee, and I had no idea. So I met him as I was moving in, and then I saw him in the Unilever office, and I was like, Jack? He's like, hey man. I was like, I'm your neighbor. So like we made that connection, and then I found out that he wasn't coming into the office that often. So when I ran into his wife, it turned out he was battling cancer, and I had no idea. So I knew his daughter was recently getting married, and they're going through that whole struggle. He's not working a lot now, and now he's got to, go to the hospital and get treatment, and it just takes a toll on your whole family. Meanwhile, his youngest daughter is trying to live her life, and he's trying to do his best to provide and give her what she wants in terms like a wedding and all this stuff. So once I found that out, I think I wrote a check for $2,000, went down, put it in his mailbox, and just walked back up to my house. And I didn't say anything, and the next day I'm sitting right here and I can see out my front door, and he's knocking, and he's like, you didn't have to do that. But like super thankful. He must have looked up pink cancer online and knew that I was a part of it and put two and two together. But those are the ones where for me, I felt great by doing that. And he could have used that. I told him to use it however he wanted. Because I feel like we have to get to that more often. Like our funds need to go to people that are struggling, maybe financially. And to be honest, like money is not going to help everything, but it can take the burden off of people who are having to pay really high insurance premiums or whatever it is when they're affected firsthand by this.
Absolutely. And nothing is too small when it comes from the heart.
No.
Right?
No.
So it's a biblical lesson. It's a timeless lesson. The person who gave the two in the Bible, the person who gave like the 2 copper pennies or whatever it was, Christ was happier because he gave from his need. So it's just giving and having that attitude. It's a mindset, and really, if we're not giving, it actually reveals that there's something wrong with us. If we're afraid to donate, it actually reveals a weakness of ours, because why don't you believe there's enough out there? When we're hoarding and clutching on to things, that's fear.
Yeah.
And it's not saying to be wasteful or stupid or anything like that. It's like, you maybe can't give everything away, but it's like if you're not going to donate to good causes, you do have to take a good look at yourself and say, what am I afraid of? What's wrong with me? And not in a way to get yourself down, but hey, okay, let's attack that fear, let's overcome that fear, and let's give. And you find that again, well, the better research says the psychology research, you feel better when you give than when you receive, which is the opposite mentality of what we see in our consumerism society. Like, yeah. I need, what about me? And I guess on my end, I'm just happy to see that science and psychology is catching up with some knowledge of the Bible that we've known for some 2,000-3,000 years at this point. So I'm glad they're catching up.
You're absolutely right. I think everything we just spoke about all ties together. It's like, you feel better when you give. It does come back full circle one way or another. And I think all of it just pays dividends throughout your entire life. And it does feel good. And you also mentioned this, like, don't just think on it, actually execute on it, and don't think that, don't have the limiting beliefs that a little is not enough. It definitely is. And we have some people that are, donate $5 a month, and that's like, we need more of those people. It definitely adds up. Those sad commercials when they talk about, like,
Yeah.
they pull out your heartstrings, and some of them get a bad rap. But even when talking to Unilever, the bulk of their donations come from smaller amounts. People donating $15, $20 a month. It doesn't come from these big corporations that are donating tens of millions of dollars every single year. The bulk of it actually is from people that just give a little bit. So I think you guys have the right mindset. I think the people that have supported us in the past have the right mindset. We have a team, a youth team from Columbia, Missouri. Shout out to Columbia wrestling program out in Missouri. They've raised over $125,000 for us throughout the years. And it's super simple. They tell all their kids to sign up. They create a team page and they raise money. It's as simple as that. And then, we send them plaques. We've sent them, obviously, all the kids that earn gear get the gear, and they look forward to it. It really starts, I think, with having probably the right person to kind of take the lead on that, whether it's a wrestling parent or a coach. And then as simple as, like, getting on a phone call with me. Like, if you go to pinkcancer.org and go to contact us, you'll see my schedule on there. You can book a time just like Jeff and I are talking, and I'll sit down for a half hour with you and figure out exactly how your team can get involved. That was something I finally did this year. I made myself just a lot more available, and teams are taking advantage of it. I must have spoken to 15 coaches already, this year before the season has started. We've already planned probably 6 or 7 Pink Cancer nights. So, we're seeing the results of our work here on our end. And now we just need to get more teams involved. But, that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Well, that's great stuff, Dan. I'm glad we got to talk about this. Like I said, any links you want us to throw in the show notes, just let me know. Even if it's a year from now, you say, hey, throw this back in there, just let me know. We could always include it. So great stuff. And we strongly encourage everyone, support Pin Cancer. We got to be doing this kind of stuff. We got to band together. Like, how are we going to do this if we're not banding together? And then also, there comes a point where, God forbid, it could be us that need it, and you think about that, and even then when we're getting the help, it's not just, the monetary help, I guess, but the prayers and the support, there's people behind you. You feel like that brotherhood, like we are on a team. We're on the wrestling team, right? Yeah. So we got to take that real serious. So I appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, Gene. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon.